The Egyptian plane crash today, attributed to but not yet confirmed as terrorism, reminds us again of the high cost of extremist violence. Daily, we hear reports of extremist violence affecting both large populations and individuals. More and more people are using violence rather than words to express their anger, their fears, and their xenophobia. I am fearful for our nation and for our world. As a Jew whose people have been the object of hateful acts for millennia, I am especially concerned about what I see happening in our society and in our world, especially where populations are being taught to hate and trained to act on that hatred. I'm reminded of the song from the musical South Pacific. You've got to be taught to hate and fear. You've got to be taught from year to year. It's got to be drummed in your dear little ear. You've got to be carefully taught. In Judaism, rather than being taught to hate the other, we are commanded 37 times in the Hebrew Bible to love the stranger. Since we are often called the people of the book, let's begin with the Bible. On only one occasion does the Hebrew Bible command us to love our neighbor, but in 37 places it commands us to love the stranger. Our neighbor is one we love because he is like us. The stranger is one we are taught to love precisely because he is not like us. We are reminded to love the stranger because we were strangers in Egypt. God brought us out of Egypt, but we are never to forget that we were slaves in Egypt, a message delivered each year at our Passover Seders. An example of a text would be from Leviticus 19. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your citizens. You shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. For 2,000 years, since the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 of the Common Era, until the founding of the modern state of Israel in May 1948, Jews were often refugees. Merriam-Webster's dictionary states that a refugee is someone who has been forced to leave a country because of war or for religious or political reasons. In the many places that Jews lived during those 2,000 years, we were often persecuted for religious reasons and thus forced to move to find a place with less persecution. I say less persecution because there was always persecution of some kind, whether legally sanctioned or not, and I believe that's something that every minority has experienced. Because of the Immigration Act in 1924, Jews fleeing Nazi Germany, as well as other places in Western and Eastern Europe, were denied refuge into the United States. You may have heard of the St. Louis, a ship filled with Jewish refugees fleeing from the Nazis, which was turned away from this country and sent back to Europe, where many perished. I fear that if we do not accept Syrian refugees, we may be repeating the sins of those who murdered 6 million Jews and 5 million others in a horror known as the Shoah, or Holocaust. Jews know what it means to be a refugee, to be seen as the other, as the undesirable, as the unwanted. It is incumbent on us to welcome the refugees from Syria, and many parts of the Jewish community are actively involved in this process. Here are two of the government-sanctioned Jewish agencies currently helping settle Syrian refugees. Both were initially set up to help resettle Jews, but have gone on to resettle refugees from places from all over the world. The first is the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society, known for short as HIAS. Founded in 1881, originally to assist Jews fleeing pogroms in Russia and Eastern Europe, HIAS now welcomes all who have fled persecution. The HIAS website states that around the world, we help refugees find safety and freedom and regain control of their lives. Our work is guided by our Jewish values and our historical experience of forced migration. The other organization that helps in refugee resettlement is to be found in every organized Jewish community, the Jewish Vocational Service, as it's known here in Kansas City, or elsewhere sometimes called the Jewish Educational and Vocational Service. The JVS in Kansas City, a Jewish Federation agency and supported mainly by Jewish grants and contributions, this year has settled 520 refugees, including the first few Syrian families of what we expect and hope to be a larger immigration. In addition, many synagogues are working on the local level, hand in hand with churches and mosques, to provide for the refugees once they arrive. Syria has been one of the Middle Eastern countries that has been not so friendly with Israel in recent years, yet this does not stop us, does not stop our community from reaching out to love the stranger. I'll end my comments by sharing with you some wise words from our tradition. Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav lived from 1772 to 1810, was the great-grandson of the founder of Hasidism, the Baal Shem Tov. His sayings are full of down-to-earth wisdom, such as this one called Gesher Tsar Ma'od. Kol ha'olam kulo Gesher Tsar Me'od, v'ha'ikar lo lifached klal. The whole world is a very narrow bridge. The important thing is not to be afraid. Thank you.